So I already started with introduction, so let me just a little bit continue. So as already told you, my name is Gennadii Chursov. You can check everything about me on this page. I will share the Google Doc as well. So I'm QA mentor, speaker, working here in Belgrade for several years, and I'm co-organizer of Serbian QA Hub, with whom we are actually today collaborating to perform that workshop. So you can check other things beside workshops. I also providing a free course on Russian language about growing as automation QA engineer. It's actually some kind of in the middle of that course. I also has paid one. Maybe in future I will also perform the same course on English language. So if you want to participate in something like that, you can always reach out to me. And for today, we will use this link. It contains a step-by-step thing to create a framework from scratch, and we will use it today. And as you're already aware, there is a GitHub repository that I created for our first session of creation of framework from scratch. It was recorded like 2 months ago. Thank you, GitHub history. And it was on Russian language. So today is almost the same. On English, there was a little fixes that I done from the previous session. For example, the last step about CI/CD using GitHub Actions was slightly increased, and now it's fully working. So I hope today we will be able to fix that. So the link is here, so you can check it from the Google Calendar. And I also will share it here. So you can open it, you can check all the links and etc. But this is a masterclass. It's not a type of workshops that you need to follow all the coding immediately. So it's more like if you want, you can follow, but it will be hard to follow because we have a restricted time. It will be only 3 hours, and we will have 15 steps to complete. So it's better then you will check the coding, live coding that I will do with you. And if you want to complete all the steps, it will be good if you will do it by your own after the session. Yeah. So, and after the session, everyone who attended here today can participate in some feedback session, and you will have a personal certificate of participation in that online masterclass if you will fail that feedback. I will also mention that at the end of our session. So our workshop will focus on practical using of Java and automation. So we'll do everything from scratch, step by step, from nothing to running tests in CI/CD. I did my steps by my own, but I also found that almost everything was already covered by Buzz Dijkstra. It's also one of the mentor, teacher, who doing a lot of public workshops, paid one and free one. He also had a GitHub repository that I'm sharing with you, and this GitHub repository also about creation a test automation project from scratch. It also contains several steps. We're actually doing similar but not one-to-one exact. So I could have something in more detail, something skipped. So it's just another way how to do that. So you can check that great minds think alike. So for majority of cases, it's the same as Buzz Dijkstra actually using. So it's just additional proof that's not that my materials it's actually proved from other engineers. And this project from Buzz Dijkstra actually has implementation, as I'm aware, only for C#. And so my solution is some kind of reference implementation for Java. I hope Bas will add my project here, so he will have two, one on C# and second on Java. Same with GitHub Actions. For UI, we will use Selenium, rest assured, for Java and JUnit and etc. So that's how you can do. I will point exact steps when I will do my own part, so you can also follow and check additional materials. But for my project, it has slightly different thing. So we are choosing from thinking about tech stack, then we will set up our working environment. We will create a new project, create a GitHub repository. Then once we will create it, we need to think about how we will work with GitHub for a future task, what will be our Git flow. We will add dependencies to our project for initial libraries like JUnit or TestNG, Selenium, rest assured, and some additional libraries. We will write the first API test using Swagger of Pet Store. We will not add static code analysis here, but I'm mentioning this step as one of the optional ones. And then we will apply some patterns and best practices for API testing. We will add additional layer of test constants and test data classes. We will add parameterization for test for using some test design techniques and etc. And then we will finish with API testing and we will switch for UI testing. We will automate the simple UI parts. We will add additional weighting strategy. We will implement a page object model. Then we will load property file to safely secure our confidential data like logins and passwords. Then I will just briefly describe that it's also optional here that we can use dependency injection, since we will have a lot of POM files, some util classes. It can be used here. Then we will add configuration for local execution. There is also a room for improvement for parallel execution, since we will have several UI tests, and UI test is not as much fast as API testing, so consider to add parallel execution. Then we will integrate reporting. We will use Allure report. Here we also can add some additional logging, but for today it will be enough with just Allure. And the last step is configuring test execution on CI/CD. And for today we are going to use GitHub Actions. So we will cover almost everything. I hope we will have enough time. So let's move on with the first topic. So the first, when you just starting working on a project and you need to choose how you're going to automate all the part, the first step is to use a programming language. So because today we are using Java, I already choose it for you. But of course, if Java is not the best solution, you can go back here and choose any other languages. And I hope there will be reference implementation for other language. So usually it's Java, C#, Python, and JavaScript or TypeScript. Also, Java could be replaced with a Kotlin, especially for some Android development and etc. So it looks like there is 6 common languages. Of course, someone using PHP or someone using Ruby for automation. So it depends. I've just mentioned here popular languages. So hope, or you can also add reference implementation for any languages. And yeah, so that's the part is vital. And usually we are deciding which language we are going to use based on several things. First of all, if you're the single QA on a project, sometimes it's good to use the same programming language that is used for our development, because they can also help you for reviewing your code or helping with writing some util classes and etc. And additional thing, you can reuse API models that developers using in their project, in their repository. You can just copy paste it. Sometimes it's not the best solution, but there is such possibility if you will do that. Then, of course, if you already have some other teams in your company, or it's already created team, you will use the language that your QA engineers already have. Sometimes in the company you have several teams and they can share several languages. I worked with a company that actually contains all of them. We had a project on Java, on Python, on TypeScript, with several tools. So if you need, you can not hire, but just pick engineer from another team if you need. And if you don't have any other restrictions, just choose a language that fit more the workflow and your own expertise. So for me, Java is the language that I'm using the most. On a second, it's probably TypeScript. And I also worked with a C#. So for me, at least 3 language already in my pocket, and I can use it for automation. So I never actually had a commercial practice with Python, so it's also in my list of future education. Of course, if we will using specific language, then probably we will use a specific tool for writing our code. So if we stick to Java, usually it's following with IntelliJ IDE or Eclipse or some other things. So we will using the first one, and then I also will highlight this marking the tools that we are going to use today. For C#, I used Visual Studio. For Python, probably you can use PyCharm or some other tool. And for JavaScript, it's also Visual Studio Code, WebStorm, or something else. And of course, you can use just Notepad and compile everything. So, since we are using IntelliJ IDE Community Edition today, everything will be using that. And sometimes, even for JetBrains IDE and for some other, you need firstly install Java. So I just use here additional instructions, how you can do that, how you can download and edit as environment variables. So I hope everyone knows how to do that. If not, just follow the instructions. So the common way here that's, for example, for me, it will be on Russian language, but it's almost the same as it here. So environment, and then it will be Java home. For example, I'm using here for JDK 11. It was for Gmeter workshop. And of course, you can pick any other version. And also you need to put Java home plus bin folder into path folder. That's what we need to do for Java as a preparation. Now let's define other dependencies from perspective of what we are going to do. For example, for UI testing, there is several things as a Java we can do. It's usually Selenium, Selenite, or Playwright. So I don't know what you're using on your project, but for today we are going to stick with a base thing. It's a Selenium. Of course, everything you can follow with any other tool. For Selenite, it will be almost the same, but just better. I mean, it's usually you can even use the same methods that included in Selenium because Selenite is based on Selenium. Playwright is a completely different tool, so you need to something different. But yeah, on Playwright side there is a pretty good documentation on their own. For API testing, we're going to use Rest Assured, and of course Playwright. Even Playwright has API. So if you will stick to Playwright, Playwright will help you with everything. And I also had an experience working with API calls on a project without Rest Assured, but with just any HTTP client. So I worked with Apache HTTP client, Oak HTTP, but of course it could be anything. Since we will work with some RESTful API, using Rest Assured, we can store our JSON files as objects, and we can use some JSON processing tool. Usually it's several, Jackson or JSON, and maybe some other, and we will stick today to a Jackson library. Of course, we need a test runner. There is two of them, JUnit and TestNG. Everything for today will be written for JUnit, but I also have additional repository on my GitHub account completely for TestNG. For assertions, I will use additional library for soft assertion support from AssertJ. For a build tool, we're going to use a Gradle, but of course you can do the same for a Maven. And as I already told, TestNG and Maven, it's a separate project that I will share with you. And then we need some kind of reporting. So even though that we have a complete testing, testing is only one part of the job of automation engineers. After we finish automation, we need to dedicate a lot of time to analyze what happens, because there will be failures based on our script issues, based on real defects, based on environment issues, and etc. And Allure will help us to find it. Of course, on some project you can use other things like BDD, Cucumber, gbehave, and Dependency Injection. I already told you, like Spring and some other Google library, for example. And we are not going to work with all of that today. But if you want, you can always reach out to me and I will find something. I already recorded some kind of course about BDD, but it's on Russian language. And I use dependency injection on several of my projects. But what we are going to use, we are going to use Lombok. It's just a code generation, helping us to create getters, setters to strings, equals, and constructors to our test data classes and DTO models. Then, depending on your project, maybe you also need to have database integration. We are not going to do it today because it's maybe not the basic part. Usually we stick to API and UI automation. So here we are not going to do that, but on my course for automation, we're actually working with GDBC and Hibernate. So if you want, it could be a dedicated topic next time. And we are going to use properties to securely saving our variables, and we are going to stick with the owner library. So, and as already mentioned, I have a separate repository for TestNG Maven examples. The one issue here is that it contains README file for now on Russian language. So maybe I will have time. I will also give additional way with README file on English language for you. So let's start with the first. When we just have an IDE and nothing else, and we already installed Java by that instruction, the first thing is that we need to create an empty project, actually following the same way how we are doing that by bus the extra steps based on our project. For a Java, we can use Maven archetype. We need to find the location where we are doing that. We need Git installed on our machine, and we need a GitHub account. Then we need to have some following structure, and probably that's all. So what we're going to do actually here, so we will use IntelliJ IDE to create a new project, and usually it starts with a project name. We need to initialize Git repository if we already have account. Before that, we need to add that account to our IntelliJ, and then we are choosing our build system, SDK, Groovy or DSL language, and we are creating the project. How it will look like, and all other parts, and we can even, I don't know, execute main method just to check that it will work. So let's do. So if we're opening the project, we can go here, new project. So what we are usually doing here, so this is a name. So let's do new, it's Russian language. It's still new maybe new, because I already have a new project, so it will be new Java framework. Okay, so we have a location. It's pretty good. We can create a GitHub repository. Actually, I recommend you to click on that. Then the build system. I actually don't know what IntelliJ means, so usually we are using from Maven and Gradle, and we are stick to a Gradle today. For GDK, you can use anything from here if you already have something. So you can even download GDK from JetBrains IDE. You don't need to install it additionally. And if you don't have anything here, you can just click download GDK and you can choose the version. For today, actually, it will be enough even 17 because we are not going to use anything above. So 17 or 21, I think will be enough. So let's just stick with the default one. Then we are using Gradle DSL, Kotlin and Groovy, and I will use a Groovy because majority of projects still using Groovy. Kotlin is more like if you will write on a Kotlin language, not on a Java, but we are sticking with the default one. Also recommend you to add sample code because you can immediately check in the main method everything. And here in advanced settings, you just use Gradle. Actually, you don't need to change anything, but here in the group ID, I actually don't remember what will be default value here, but you can change on your surname here because sometimes it's vital if you will have several dependencies with the same name by default and you will use some methods and etc. or constant values. It's good to have some unique name here. So once we've done everything, we just clicking on create button. Let's do it in a new window. The project is created. And you see here that GDK is not defined, even though that I mentioned that we need a Java 17. For some reason it failed. So let's click Setup SDK. Let's click OK. And in Setup SDK, let's pick up 17 one more time. Okay, looks like it applied. You see it needs some time for importing everything. And once all background task is done, what we're going to have here, we can open src main, Java, main class. And here we have hello world. So if we will execute that class, just clicking on a green button, we will have hello world. So it means that our project successfully created and Java is applied. So for the first stage, it's enough. Okay, so if you have questions, you can ask. If not, we will just continue. So once we have a project, I mean, even simple enough, then we are not actually wrote any line of code. Still, it's already a good chance to create a GitHub repository. So everything that we will do next will be saved and we can access our code from any machine. If something will happen with our, I don't know, laptop and HDD, SSD, and etc., you will have a copy of everything that you created. So it's good to start doing that. So we already clicked on Initialize GitHub repository. As I'm aware, to do so, you need to go to settings, probably. Let's go and write here Git. Yeah, and you need to add your GitHub account here because only if you're doing that, you will have all menus here for a GitHub. Once you will done that, we can go to a Git and we can use a commit message. Then we need to choose which files we are going to commit to our remote repository. We will use commit message to write something like init commit. We are committing messages. It will be some kind of this one pop-up dialog. And then we need to publish changes on a GitHub. So it will look like that. You can also choose if it will be private or a public repository. So usually if you're sharing it with someone, you need to do it public. And probably that's all. So let's do the same. So how we are doing that? Just go in here to a Git. Let's go for a commit. You see that menu. Of course, you can do that using command line. Actually, I mostly prefer the interface. I'm using command line only, for example, for some specific actions when I just need to, I don't know, add my username to GitHub, my email, or I don't know, for cherry pick some kind of that issues. But usually it's even better to do it from UI because you can just unclick something. It's just faster. And we actually really need to unclick something. We have a default folder called .ide that contains some files, and all of that files actually related to our local copy of IDE, so we can unclick it because if our project will be downloaded by other person, we don't need to override their local settings for their ID. So this is specific to person that's launching the code from remote. So we are removing that. We don't need it. Gradle is okay. All of other files actually belong to our project, and of course main Java. And here in commit message, as I already told you, we can just write init commit. It's just already an etalon message, and we're just clicking commit. Continue. Yeah, there is some code analysis, but we can still commit it. So files committed. What we need to do next? We are going here, GitHub, share project on GitHub. I'm unclicking private. You can put something here for descriptions, like example of masterclass for Java automation. But it's actually not required because usually you are checking everything about project in the README file. So let's share it. And once it's shared, we can click on that link, and you see it's created on my GitHub repository. We have only one commit, and you see it was created 1 minute ago. Descriptions that I added here, and we don't have a README file yet. So we can actually create, but maybe later. It's actually a good practice to have a README file for your projects. Okay, so what we are going next. Now we can actually start working on some tasks. But firstly, we need to define which strategy we are going to use. So my personal recommendation is to not commit directly to master on my main branch. You need firstly create a new branch for a new each task. Then you're making local commits to that branch. Once the task is completed, you're pushing the branches to GitHub. You're creating a pull request. You're assigning people to code review, someone from your team, other QA engineers, maybe dev team. Then after review, you're merging your changes to master or main branch, or maybe it could be some other thing. There is several variation of Git flow. Sometimes they're using master dev, trunk-based development could be used. You can have release branch and etc. We are not going to discuss it deeply. You can just check some articles about that. But still, they are following the simple rule. You're not directly committing to a master. You have several branches depending on needs of your project. So we can try to do the same. Sometimes there is even a rule of naming that new branch. For example, you can use feature. Here you can put Jira ticket like Jira 1, 2, 3. Or if there is no Jira ticket, you can just put no ref. So it stands for no reference, I think. And then you can write what actually you are doing here, like new API test, updating Git Ignore, or no, some UI test, etc. So you can pick this line from your GitHub, from your Jira ticket. And so let's do the same. Oh, I accidentally clicked on Yandex browser. So, so we're going here, Git, new branch. So let's do a feed or even feature if you want. Then you can put no ref, and we will put git ignore. So we are checkout branch. Now we're in a different branch where it is actually. Why is still on the master? Okay, it's updated. Now you see we're in a feature no ref git ignore branch. What we're going to use here, so we have a git ignore file that actually defining in a commit, do we really need to unclick all that IDE files each time, or we can just simply ignore it? And as you see, IDE folder already have some files that we ignoring. So we're ignoring modules XML, where it is. We actually don't have it. But we ignoring jar repositories XML, it's actually with a different color. But we're not ignoring git ignore, Gradle, and other files. So we can fix that. And the way how we can fix that, we can add that files one by one. I mean, we can just write IDE. What else? Yeah, like VSC XML. And if we will do that and commit, then we will not, this file will not bother us in the future. But the other issue here, we can just ignore all the folder of ID and it will be enough for us. So let's create a commit. First time we need to unclick it. Here we can write like update git ignore. So each time it will be a different message. We're clicking commit. The file is committed. Now we can go git push. We're pushing our branch to remote repository. And you see we have button create pull request. Actually, I'm using it not from IDE, but from a GitHub. So here, now you see we have that branch and we have a green button compare and pull request. Let's click on that. So here, first of all, when we are creating a pull request, we're deciding which branch will be our target branch. It will be a master one. And this is our branch that we just created. Here we can add a title, we can add a description here. Like for example, you can add Allure report link with green tests. Just to mention that everything was passed successfully. Here you can pick up reviewers like your dev team, another QA or some kind of it. You can assign to yourself, you can add label. For example, it's enchantment, project, and all other parts. So a lot of things here. But what is vital is that another green button to create a pull request. And in our case, we don't have any reviewers, so I can merge pull request immediately. But in your real project, there is some additional maintenance of a GitHub repository. So you can have a rule that you need at least one approve before merging. We don't have such rule, so I can click merge pull request immediately. And what it will do, it will move all the code from our separate branch to a master branch. And we actually wanted to do so. So let's click merge pull request. Let's confirm it. And it's merged. Once it merged, we can go here to the repository, and in master branch, you see we have a new changes. Now we have 3 commits. We have init, update, and we even have a merge pull request. Okay, so how it will look like from a project perspective. We're still in our custom branch, and if we want to move on and start another task, first of all, we need to switch back to a master branch. But here on master branch, if we will go to Git Ignore, we will have still outdated data. So we are going here to pull, and we're pulling changes from master. And only after that, we are updating the 2 new commits. And now we have everything here in place. And if I will click git commit, for some reason it's still actually here, but there is another workaround how to do that. You can write git, I forgot what we need to write here. Reset probably. Yeah, git reset. And if I will do it one more time, yeah, you see nothing to commit. So now the changes in IDE are removed from our staging. So, and it actually will not bother us anymore. So let's just quickly do it here. So I already wrote everything that we did. This is our default. We are placed it with just IDE folder. And we use git reset to unstage changes. Okay, now it will work. Okay, we did everything. We updated, created pull request. And from now on, I will also add a link to the code and to the pull request. So you can follow it step by step. So you can go here and check the changes. And if you will go to new Java project here, you can see that it actually should be in remote, that you have several branches that I created for you. So master include all the codes that we have in a workshop. And other branches contains only code related to a specific step. So Git Ignore will not have API and UI tests. But for UI, you have UI and API and everything before, but you will not have weights. So it will help you to understand what you need to add on a specific step without unnecessary details of the future steps. So you can use that, and you can easily switch from one branch to another one. So let's return back to our project. So we are actually did 4 steps already. So we are on step 5, and we can add new dependencies to a project. Of course, for that, maybe we can add so we will add new dependencies, and then we will write first API test. So we can even combine 2 of them, and we can create a new branch. We're doing that also from master branch. Now let's do it like new, or just API tests. Let's create that branch. For now, I'm not following, and if you want to change, you can actually do that. So I created the branch, but I created with not regular naming, so we can go to existed one. We can do a feature, IP tests, and here, of course, we will have, I don't know, Jira 1, 2, 3, and it will be IP test. Something like that. Let's rename it. And you see it's renamed successfully. So I also have a reference for IP testing and for adding dependencies here, so you can check it. So the first thing here that we are using, and depending on if we have a build Gradle or if we have a Maven. For a Gradle, we can go to a build Gradle file, and we can check that actually for our purpose, we already have a JUnit here inside the dependencies. So from the top, here is a plugins that we need to apply. By default, it's Java. This is a group and version of our future artifact of our project. This is repositories from which we're actually downloading dependencies. And this is a task to start JUnit tests. And here we can add more dependencies, and we actually will need some of them. So, for example, if we want to add the test.ng, for example, we don't want to use JUnit, we can go to a site called Maven repository. And here you can write anything like, I don't know, Selenium maybe. Selenium Java, okay. And you can open it. You have a list of repositories. Usually we are using Central. Then the version, usually we are using the last one. And then there is a page with some statistic, like how much it used. And then we can use Maven, Gradle, or something different. Of course, we're using Gradle here, and there is two vital part is compile and a test. And yeah, you can choose a Kotlin here, but we're not using that. The difference between compile and test is that for compile, everything that you will add to dependencies will be available in both places, in main folder and in test folder. And if it's just test, it will be available only in a test folder. So it depends how you will organize your testing structure. So for now, you see that JUnit only added to a test implementation, so it not be available in main package. Yeah, for, I don't know what we need. We don't need Selenium here, and we don't need test.ng actually. What we really need for API testing? We need only, let's check. We need REST assured, so let's do for REST assured. So this is the page. Let's open it. Let's pick up the latest version. You see, it's actually sometimes contains list of vulnerabilities. That's why actually REST assured maybe is not the best solution, because it always have some issues with vulnerabilities. Yeah, actually the latest version of REST assured was in February, and they still not updated to a new version without vulnerabilities. So let's use here test, groovy short. You can copy paste it from here and place it here. And you can remove that part, and it will be something like that. So what it contains? It contains, let's do, for example, Maven. It will more declarative. So the first part, it's our group ID of our artifact, then ID of artifact, and then the version, and then scope if it's test, or for compile it has nothing actually. So the same here actually for a Gradle. So group artifact ID, so this is a group, and then after the group we have this sign, then we have artifact ID, and then we have a version. So it's the same but different format of how it look like. That's all. We also have a long form that contains group name and version, but it's actually not needed. So once you add dependency here, you will have a elephant, or for a Maven big M, and you can click to actually update dependencies. It will download it. But if you want to do it separately, you can open a Gradle here and click on reload all Gradle projects. Okay, and after that, to check that it was actually installed, like rest assured, you can go here on the left for a project, open external libraries, and you can see that now we have rest assured with a specific 551. And also sometimes for a debugging, you can go here to analyze dependencies. And here you can see all dependencies that you have. Sometimes it's needed because some of dependencies, for now, for example, this one is a good example. We added a JUnit Jupyter, but it also contains some child dependencies of JUnit. And sometimes you have an issue because one of dependencies has a child with a specific version, and another dependencies has the same child with a different version. And it could be an issue because you cannot use several versions at the same time. So one of your library will fail because it's using different version. And for doing that, you can actually remove child of some specific dependency. Let me find how it look like. Yeah, you're just using exclude group, and then you're excluding transitive, so child dependencies to avoid conflict could be removed. But we don't need it for now. It's more like if you will face that issue, you know how to fix that. So we add that rest assured, but I didn't actually explain you why we need rest assured, what we are going to test. So maybe you already worked with that. It's called pet store swagger. It's just leave documentation of API for a pet. It contains several controllers, pet, store, and user. As I'm aware, we will go work with the user, and it has some CRUD operation. So CRUD stands for create, read, update, delete. So we'll have post for creation, get for getting information, put for updating, and delete for removing, and some additional things. And we need to actually automate it. We can do manual testing directly here. So if I will open like for post create, I can click try it out. This is our JSON file. I can just click execute. So this is what sent it, and this is the response. And of course, I can copy paste it. Let me see how to do that. So this CURL could be copy pasted to Postman, and it will work automatically. But we can do that to automation in Java. So we cannot just copy paste it to our project and create a test for that as we're doing that for a Postman. For Java, it's a little bit harder than that. So since we already added rest assured, we can actually start writing tests. So this is how it usually look like. I can copy paste it, and then I will share with you what each lines are doing. So let's open the project. We already have all the libraries that we need. Now we open a test folder, Java, and inside we can create like a new package, for example, IP tests. And let's inside put, so with pet store, pet user tests. Okay, and here let's place our test. And as you see, some of our lines actually red lines, so something missed. And actually it means that we have some code that not from our base Java libraries. So we need to use external ones that we placed here. And each time that we are using library from external dependencies, here we need to go and add an import. So you can do it even automatically, just click on import class, and it will add the line import or JUnit Jupyter API test. The same we need to do for a response. Now we have rest assured response for a given part. Now we have this line. It's actually a static method. And the last one for assertion, and assertions is also from a JUnit. Now our test actually look better. You don't have any red things, so we can try to execute it. Let's see if it will work. And then I will explain how we're actually doing that. Yeah, it's actually working. You see, we also have that code 200, some message. So yeah, it's working. So the first part, the same as we have here in the Swagger, we need to have some base URL of our application. So this one, it's actually applied to any controller. And this one specific for a user, because if we will do like store or pet, the base URL will be the same. So this part is the same, but this is not. So we can put it here as well. So this is a base URL, and this one user we can even save it as a variable here. So string user endpoint. And user endpoint will be this part. And we can place it here as a variable. So this part we did. What about this part? This part actually was copy-pasted from that file. So for that post user creation user, we have some parameters, and the body actually is required parameter. And we have an example of our JSON body. And here, if you will click on the model, you can check that it actually following some JSON structure. It has an ID, and we can see that ID is a long value, username is a string, and for example, user status is an integer, but it's actually a class of the user status. So it's not just int value, it's some enumerator, I think, and all other is also could be here. And it's just an example file. But still we can copy paste it from here, move it here, and here we just placing it as just a raw JSON file. It could be enough. And then we need to use rest assured steps to actually execute this one as a CURL, but for rest assured we have a specific syntax. All the things are actually separated into three parts. So I will write down here. So we have a given, we have when, and we have then. And it's actually pretty same as we have in BDD, so in behavior-driven development, given and our prerequisites. So it's like preconditions or something like preparations. When actually our action, like executions and etc. And then part, it's our assertions. So it's our assertions. So in given part here, we can even use it just like that. So we will just write the given from the beginning. And given is a method, so we need to have open and closed part. Then when clicking dot, and you see we have a lot of methods that we can use. We can log, filter, and the things that we actually require here, it's base URI. And we put a base URL here that we already saved as a variable. So this is a good part. What else we can put here? We can put a body, some headers like accept one. We can put authentication, content type, cookies, some other things that I'm not even using, form params, and multi-part. What else? Yeah, path parameters, proxy, query params, and millions of other things that we can use. For our purpose, we need to add the headers, and the question is how I found that I need specific one here. I actually copy pasted it from here because -h here means that it's a header. So I just copy pasted headers from here and put it here as additional headers. And then also the body, but body we already stored. So for a given part, we're done, and we are moving to a when part. When part usually contains of choosing the HTTP method. So the same here, it's a post method. So we need to use a post one. So the same, when I click just when dot, you have, you also have that body part, but you can use get here. You can use put here, patch. Yeah, we have patch here. And of course post and delete and all other parts. So we are using post here. And inside post, we are specifying that user endpoint. And here I'm using end return, so we can save the result of our execution of our call to a variable. So the same as we have here. So we are actually saving the response body. Of course, we are saving a lot of other things like headers, cookies, and etc. But for now, we need only body. So response body is saved here. We can use a specific method like pretty print to that body to be able to get the result. And also from the response, we can get all other things, like we can get status code. What else we can get? We can get content type. We can get cookies, headers, session status line, session ID, like a lot of things. I don't even use half of them, but it's possible. So pretty print is just using for logging the response. So we will able to see it when we run the test. So this line actually, because I used pretty print here. And of course, each of our tests should have some assertions. So we need to check, okay, at least the status code was 200. And of course, for some extended tests, we can check that this line was 200, this one line was unknown, and this one was some number. Maybe we will not check that it was specifically this one, because if I will execute it one more time, it will be a different line number. So it was 76, now it's 29. So we can check only the format. I don't know, we can calculate how many numbers we have here and just check that it's just a big number in some interval. Okay, so that's the tests that we wrote. And let's return back here. And yeah, that's an example how we can actually check that body. So let's add one more test. I will just copy paste it from here to be pretty fast. We're already 1 hour in our workshop. So this is the test number 2. We have the same base URL, we have the same body, and we are doing given, base URL, header, and etc. So it's completely the same as this part also, but now I'm checking status code not inside the additional assertion layer. I'm using the then part and I'm putting status code here, and then I'm using the same for a body. And you see we have equal to. We also need to add an import for Hamcrest library. And for not now, it's also the same. So I'm checking code is 200, 200, or 200. I accidentally returned back to Russian. And here it's unknown, and here it's not null value. At least we need to check that it's not null. I mean, we're not following that things, but maybe even a regular expression could be added here. So let's execute the test.
Can I quick make a question?
Yes, sure.
Which assertion do you prefer, by using separate or
yeah,
like
I
in the last
usually
one?
prefer this one with a JUnit. But it depends. If it's something simple and you don't need to parse all the data to a DTO that we will cover in several minutes in the future, then it's completely okay to do this one. If it's just simple 3-line response. But if it's something bigger and you need to parse the data and do a lot of things, calculations, and business logic, sometimes it's hard to place it in that format. Yeah.
Thanks.
So this is more like for some quick and short assertions. But it's actually pretty good. We have a lot of things. Beside of equal to, if we will go here to matchers class, we have millions of other variants. Let me just see. We have equal to, we have not null value, of course, containing some value, starting with or ending with. We can check regular expression, as I already told you. We can check containing arrays or collections, and it's only like a half of that page. So you have millions things. We can even check JSON path here. So this is actually a JSON path, so this is working well. But it was just a quick check. What else we have here? Let me just check. Yeah, that's all for a simple test. What else I put here? Yeah. So we are actually following triple A pattern. What it means, it's arrange, act, and assert, and there is a page about that, but I will just quickly explain you. So this is also some kind of triple A pattern, but for example here, this part, it's like precondition for the test, because we just storing some variables, getting test data. This one, it's actual action, because we need to call a post method. And this one is our assertion. So triple A, it's actually following that one. Arrange, it's for our base URL. Act for calling post method. And this is one is assertion. We are following that and leaving some empty space here just to have some structure, so it will be easy to read all our tests if they will follow the pattern. So something like that. But sometimes we are missing, for example, that first A part, because we will move base URL and all other parts in some constant or properties files. So probably we are going to use all of that. So what we actually can already refactor in our automation. First of all, if you already noticed, we have all of that part duplicated to our second scenario. So we can move it somewhere in one place. Then the request body, headers are also repeated. We even have the same logic. The only difference is in one case we are checking body, and in another one we are not checking it. So that's the only difference, but we duplicated the whole part, so maybe we can do it better. And of course, maybe we will reuse that test several times, because if we wanted to check, for example, delete method, how we're going to test it? Because the issue here, if we will go to a delete, we need to put a username of already created resource to our application. So it means we firstly need to use a post method to create a user. Then maybe we need to use a get method to check that this was created successfully. And only after that, we will use a delete method. That's why it's a good idea to save our post, get, and other methods into some other classes that we can reuse several times. And there is such way how to do that. It's called controller pattern. Maybe in your project it has different naming, but it's almost the same as a page object, only for API. So what we are going to use, we are creating a controller the same name as here, so user controller, store controller, and a pet controller, and we will save all the HTTP methods that needed to that controller. So our user will have methods for all of that, so for post, get, put, delete, and etc. Of course, we need to define specification like base URL, endpoint, and the headers that are using each time. And this is how it will look like. For that, we can create additional thing. So let me just commit what we have now. Let's commit it as first a p-test. Okay, committing. And let's continue with the same branch, because why not, just for our purpose of being faster. What we're going to do next, here, even in the test folder, we can do or we can move it to a main folder. It depends. Let's see how it was in my previous project. I actually used controllers into a test folder. Okay, let's do it here. So in Java, we can create a new package. Let's call it controllers here. And let's create the first one, user controller. Of course, you can have several one, but let's start with a simple. Okay, so what we are saving here, we have request specifications and some methods. And it will look like here. Let's add imports for request specification for a given part. Yeah, the second one. Sometimes you need to pick up, like you saw for a given part, there is several libraries. Let's put user. Actually, we don't have a user yet, so we will fix that. Okay, so let's go here. So everything that we had before with our pet user, like base URL and endpoint, now moved here. So two of that lines. And I even save it here as a constant value. So to add this as a constant value, I added static final, and now it in caps. So in capital letters. And I also created request specification here. So now we can add our headers like accept contained and base URL separately here. Why? That's actually not a method, it's a class constructor. I don't know why it's not working. Yeah, because it should be controllers. Now it will be fixed. Okay. And now let's see. So this is our request specification, and it means that each our other methods will reuse that specification, because in given we are mentioning this one. And then, as we did previously, we need to use now only this part, body, when, post, and return. And that's all. All other part we are taking from here. So we will reduce duplicates. Here also, another fix. We also have this one as a pure JSON file, but now we can create it as a DTO class. So let's create another package here. Let's call it DTO, or you can call it models. And let's create a user class here. And the issue here, how we can create a user. Of course, I already mentioned to use it if we have user here and we can click on a model, you can see the contract. And you can always click here, copy paste it as something like private int ID, but it's actually could be a tedious job because it could be not only one, but 100 lines. So how to do it much faster? You can copy paste JSON from here, open Java Podge to JSON. There is several class sites. I prefer JSON scheme to Podge. And here you can use I don't know, probably it was Chursov for me. Class name will be user. I can paste JSON file here. You need to choose source type JSON. Annotation type none is okay for us. Use primitive types, getters and setters. Looks good. Let's click preview. And we actually need to paste only this part. Let's go back here and add everything. So now we have all our fields created in a separate class. We still need a lot of things generated, but we can generate it even from IDE. Like, for example, we can put getters and setters, choose everything, and it will be generated automatically. And we can even generate a constructor, for example. Let's generate a constructor. It should work. And now if we will return back, now user could be imported from that class that we just created. So now if we will going to apply all of the techniques to a pets user test, it will be a little bit updated. So let's just copy paste it. Let's create user like improved test. Now how it look like? We don't need base URL here. We don't need this part. We don't need even this part. We need only assertion actually. What we actually need here, we need to create our user controller. User controllers. And here just new user controllers. Actually, it's better to rename it to a single name. I don't know why I put it here. So we can go to refactor, rename, you can remove it. It's better to do it from refactoring, because if you're refactoring, it will change the name in all files that already created for you. So it's fixed here. And after that, we can use that user controller. And we have a method to create user. We still need to put some user here. That's why we need to use that user to use our DTO class. And here we can use something like, so we can pass it from here, 0, string 1, string 2, string 3, 4, I forget this one, password, then it will be phone, and then it will be 0. And maybe we can put it on a new line or something like that. Yeah, so it will be readable. So this is replacement of this line. And we are storing this one as a response. And it will look like that. So you see a difference, yeah, between this test that contains a lot of unnecessary details and this test. Which one you prefer? And of course, this part, if it will be reusable several times, we can even save it as a constant value. So we can even move it, and the test actually will be this lines of code. Let's try to execute it. So you will have a proof that it's working, and the issue that it's not working actually. Because as I already told you, we need to use a JSON serializer here to have a mechanism how to parse the data from JSON to Java class. So we need to use it, and actually it's like written exactly what we need to do. We need to use a JSON data bind. So it's just a simple fix. So we're returning back to our Maven side, and let's just write it down. JSON data bind. This is our site. We are using the latest version from April 25. Nice. Like it was yesterday, they created it for us. So we're still using Gradle, test, saving that, returning back to a project, going to build Gradle and put it here. So the same load Gradle changes to download the artifact. Now we're returning back to our test. And since it's failed, now let's try it one more time. Now the test fixed. I mean, we still doesn't have anything here, so if I will go back to user controller, we can, user controller. Go in here using, where it is, go to implementation, for example. And here, in a given part, we can also add log all, for example. It's for request, and here for return, we can probably also can log. No? Log all, and if we will log in everything, what we will have? We will have both request part. This is our request. We actually log in request twice. Where is the response part? And we didn't log the response part. Why we are not doing that? Yeah, okay, so we need only once. Yep, we save the request, and as a response, okay, we can still use that part when we are doing response dot get body pretty print, and this is our response. So we just check that everything working. Okay, so return back to our guidance. I actually did the same. The only thing that you can also apply is to add a Lombok. Actually, Lombok will help you to generate all of that getters, etc. More easy way. So how we are doing that? We can even go here, Lombok Java. We can find the project page, and here in install Gradle, we have how to do that. Actually, it's like to add all of that parts. We're going here, going to build Gradle, actually adding here, updating. Sometimes you also need to click enable annotation processing somewhere here at the bottom of your IDE, but for now it's not required. And probably that's all. If I will go back to our user class, I can actually remove all of that and replace it with a Lombok. What we need to have here, we have a data, we have all RGS constructor, and probably that's all. So we don't have a constructor yet, but it will be created for us automatically. So let's just check test, it's still working. So that's how it's working. Actually, data is the same as toString and getters and setters. So we are just using one for everything. Okay, so any questions so far? You don't have any questions because you don't understand anything or because you know everything? That's the question here. So we're doing that for 1 hour and 21 minutes. So what about to have a short break before the next part? Like 10 minutes, and we will see each other at half of the hour. What do you think? Yeah, actually, someone asked about short break. Yeah, so see you in 8 minutes. Okay, let's return back. I saw some people left the call and didn't join back. So that's the issue. The basic Java course. Actually, I have my own on Russian language yet. So maybe I will, once I will finish with Russian one, I will create on a Java. Yeah, but I mean, if it's not related to automation, my best suggestion for learning Java is Hyperskill. Yeah. And you can join the Telegram channel of Serbian QA Hub and ask question about courses on Java automation there, and I will add some links that I had before. I cannot just find it for now. It will require me some time, so you can ask me there. So I see people are start returning, so let's continue. How it's so far? So any questions? Is it okay for you? Is it good? Nemanja, how are you?
Yeah, hi, Gennadii. Great course. Yeah, I just want to go back to the beginning. So I didn't hear, or maybe I missed. Did you explain why you choose Gradle over Maven? Because I know only that Gradle is a faster for building components. And second question will be, why did you choose JUnit over TestNG?
We need to choose something, yeah? If I will choose TestNG, there will
Why?
be
Yeah.
question,
I
why
know. I know.
TestNG? It's just because I just prefer to JUnit. For me, it will be faster. On a real project, you have 50% chance of JUnit and TestNG at this time. And also, JUnit it's more for for unit tests. So when I worked as a data engineer, I worked with JUnit more with like Makita libraries to write contract testing for write unit test. TestNG is more using for API, UI, end-to-end tests for automation engineer. And I considering myself both automation and data engineer. That's why I'm using JUnit TestNG at the same time sometimes. But yeah, I have an example with TestNG and Maven. And Gradle I also use because I more prefer Gradle style with Groovy than that long lines of POM.xml, like millions of lines to do the same in a short way in Gradle. That's why. But of course, they are almost the same. Maybe Gradle a little bit faster for component, as you already mentioned. It's not big deal here, so you can choose anything. And usually you're not even choosing, you're going to a project that already have Gradle or Maven, TestNG or JUnit. Yeah.
Great, thanks. And just quick, another one. So, do you have any course recorded, or you will maybe hold one about Playwright, maybe with TypeScript?
I don't have yet, and usually Playwright comes not with Java, it's with TypeScript.
Yeah, TypeScript. I just said,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you gonna record, or you gonna
Actually, I don't think that
show?
it will be beneficial because I don't have it in practice yet. I had it previously, and the documentation from the developers of Playwright, it's actually pretty extensive. It contains everything there, even have YouTube channels, so
Okay, yeah, great. Thanks.
there is
Thanks,
a
man.
lot of information. Probably I will not do the same level of contribution. Okay, so let's move on. Let me share the screen again. Okay, and let's return back. So we added our DTO with annotations. And also bonus task, we didn't fix the issue here, but it actually shouldn't be an int value. It should be some status class because it's enum here based on Swagger. So here user status, it's user status. So let's do enum. So you can do enum with active, inactive, and suspended. Then a lot of things will be fixed. But we will not stop on here. Let's move on. So we already rewrote the test. Now everything is working correctly. And one more thing. So if we will return back, so we fixed one test. Now let's do the same for this one with a check and response body. So let's just copy paste it, put it here. So it also like improved test. We don't need anything here. We can actually remove everything, copy paste it from this test. And yeah, and we can just add more assertions. Now we can go and check our response directly. So besides of status code, what we can do next. We can save it not as a response. We can go here, write response, do as, and we can put here user, oh, not user. Yeah, actually user class. And we're saving that as a user, like created user. And here we can go and use, for example, I forget, here we not need to do user DTO. We need to create a new DTO. It will be our some kind of user response, because we have a different DTO class here. This class we can go from here. So we can even duplicate that Podja and creating here. Let's previewing that. Will be our fields. And we are using data and Allure constructor. We need a constructor here because Jackson will create the data based on the constructor. So user response is our class here. And we're doing it like that. And what we have here, we can check get code. It also should be 200. Then we're checking what? Checking actually message and type. Let's see. So what will be our values? Type will be unknown. Okay, so here we put unknown, and here we cannot check actually with assert equals. We can assert. What we can check here? Not null. Do we have it here? I hope so. Where it is? Assert null and assert. Okay, let's write not null. Yeah, we have assert not null. Okay, let's just check that it's not null and it will be enough for us. Okay, so let's execute our test. And we failed. And what's the issue here? Okay, we cannot construct instance of DTO user response. Yeah, and here we need not only all-RGS constructor. For some reason, we also here need no RGS constructor. So constructor by default. Now it's fixed. This is our response. Here we are just checking that it exists. Of course, we can do a lot of things. Check that it's a string. Check that it has, I don't know, 15 numbers or some kind of it. I just don't know how much it's here, and etc. Or we can just check that it at least greater than the previous one. So something like assert true. Here we can put that message. We return a message as a string because it's in the quotes. So then we can parse it as a long, get long from the string. Putting it here, and it should be bigger than this number. And let's check if it will work. Actually not. And why? And what about parse long. Yeah, probably I just used a different method. Now let's see. Now it's working. Yeah, I just forget which method needed to parse long value from a string. So this is how it could look like. Of course, if you have several assertions, you can combine them in soft assertion. Let's see, did I apply it here? Actually, not yet, so we can do it later. Okay, and the issue about serializer I also put. And as a homework, you can now create tests for put, get, and delete. And I already told you how it could be look like. So next part, so we can finally create a constant class. But before that, let's just create a new commit. So now we add controller class and tests. Okay. So it's fixed. So what's next? Let's do now a constant class. I don't know, we can do something like common constants. But it's actually not needed for the tests. Maybe base URL only, because user endpoint, it's stick to the user controller. So let's do it like that, put in constant. Let's create common. And let's just place from a user controller only this line. I will just show you how refactoring will look like. Since we moved our constant value from the specific class, now it shouldn't be private, it should be a public one. And now we remove it here and we need to re-import it. Now it imported from a different package. Here it's fixed. Here we also have this one and we are removing it. And we re-import it from, we actually need to call it like that. And now it's a different naming like that. And we're replacing it here. We need to remove it here and replace it here. So that's how we can move some constant value to a different class. And we can store it here. Because it's reusing into several different files, that's why it's okay to move it to a separate. Okay, so the same we can do, for example, for a test data. Like we have a default user, and you see here I'm using a build pattern. To add a build pattern, we can go to a user class. I need to add builder annotation here. And then in a common constant, for example, I can create test data, and that will be our test data things. I'm moving it here. So it's the same way, but more elegant way, because the issue here previously that in a test, if we want to create the test date, it will be this long file or long line here. And it's sometimes not enough space to be on the same line. So here it's updated version. It still need to have all the fields if they not null value, but for invalid user, it's just one line because all of that username, first name, and last name will be just null value here. So it means that all of that field actually exists to invalid user, but they just has a default value inside the user. How default value actually applying here? If it's a primitive type, then it will be 0. If it's a string, then it will be null value. And here it's also 0. That's how it's working. So now we can reuse it. Let's go to pet user. This is our improved test. Now we're removing that part and we're placing user here. And the same here, where it is. Okay, this one is not needed. We're placing user here. Okay, so now we have a little more scenarios. Yeah, we fixed everything. Of course, you can use other ways. It's not only about moving your test data to a constant class. Sometimes you can use additional libraries like Java Faker to generate data randomly. And starting from Java 14 or maybe 16, several articles has a different meaning about that. You can use record classes. It's also other way how to create a constant value. It's immutable test data. And you don't even need a Lombok to get setters, getters, and all the other part. I put an additional article about that, so you can check how it will look like. Let's see where it is. Yeah, so you just create a new record for a user. Yeah, it also should have some fields for a constructor, and then you're creating it, and you can reuse it as a constant value. So also great example how to save some reusable test data in your code base. So we're done with that. Now let's move on to a test parameterization. So how to do that and why we need that? So for now, we have a test with default user. What if we will have another default user? I mean, okay, this one with all default values. Now let's create, I don't know, user one. And here in username, we will have Chursov. Okay, name will be Gena. Here it will be Chursov. Email will be, I don't know, mentor.com. Phone. Actually, it should be a password here, not a phone. Yeah. Yeah. I actually misspelled it previously. So here it will be password. Here it will be phone. And the same here. And I don't know, 1, 2, 3 QWERTY, but it's not my real password. And I don't know, some phone number. So we can have several test data at the same time, but how we can use it in real tests? Should we create one test for each one? What if I will do a user 2 and it will be like the same, but here it will be just number 2 for some reason, I don't know. So if we have a number of tests, we can reuse the same test several times. We can just pass the data here, how it will look like. So for that, we still need to use library, and JUnit 5 has ability to use a parameterized test. Actually, it's just an annotation. So this is how it looks like. Let me just copy paste it, but we will create a new one actually. So this is how it could look like. It's just an example. Yeah, we have invalid user. Let's do parameterized test, method source, all of that things. We have a user controller. Actually, since we are using user controller in several tests, we can create it here. User controller. And actually, that's the way when we can use our dependency injection. By Spring or Goose. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. GUIs, Google Library for dependency injection or inversion of control. Okay. And here we will just use a constructor, and it means that here we just removing that part. We don't need it anymore. And here also we don't need it. Now it's fixed on the user response. we call it just user response. User response. And that's how our test was fixed. We passing user inside the test. User are actually here. Let's do our user 1 and user 2. Okay, user 2. So it means that this test will be passed 3 times with the default user first time, user 1 second, and the third time with user 2. And since our behavior of the test is still the same, we're just creating a user, it's all positive case, and expected result is the same, we can actually do this. So if I will run, this is the first one, second, third. I don't know, we have 4 tests. Why it's 4? Yeah, I didn't get it, but yeah, even 4 times. And that's all. So parameterized testing using when we need to have a duplicate of the same test. So in other case, what we can do, we can just copy paste it, write it here, put it 2, and use user 1 and then user 2. And because everything is the same, only the test data is different. That's why it's good to use a parameterized test. So we can replace this one with 3 tests, only with one with a separate organizing of test data. Here it should be stream or iterable, and we're passing here a user, and we have method source. Actually, we have a different format. Additional one is for CSV values, and some default one. Let me just find how it look like. Yeah, method source, enum source, CSV source. We can use CSV file source, arguments, and all other parts. So there is several ways how to do that, but for example, method source is commonly using because you can just create a method that will return you a list of your test data. So actually here I haven't created it with assert false is empty. Also possible. So that's all. And of course, I left here several links so you can do it by your own. So now we actually finished with API testing. Of course, it could be much more details, but I think first glance is already done. Now we can move on to writing UI test. That's why I'm creating a new commit. Parameterized tests and constant. Okay. Let's commit it. And let's push it. Oh no, we don't need to push it yet. Let's do it later. Okay, so running UI test, how we can do that, and for which site we are going to use that. So usually I'm using this one. It's Bonnie Garcia Dev. It contains millions of things that could be on your real application, like if we will open web form. So there is a text input, there is a password, text area. So it's actually working. Password is not revealed. We can have a drop. We can check this one, color picker, and all other part. So there is millions of things that we can check. So how to do that? How to at least open this page? Let's start with something. Of course, we have several libraries. We'll stick to Selenium. That's why we need to add additional artifact to our library. So we're going here to Selenium as the latest version, Gradle. Let's copy paste it here. And let's put it inside build Gradle. Putting it here, updating. So we will download the artifact. And now we can go here and we can create a new package, UI, and simple UI tests. Okay. So how the test will look like? It will look like something like that. But let's start with something more simple. It's already improved version. So the simplest part, we are adding annotation of JUnit. We're just calling open site test. And then the first part, we need to initialize our WebDriver. So it's usually WebDriver equals, and we're using constructor of a specific version of the browser. So for example, it's Chrome driver. Yeah, so we will open the Chrome. Of course, it could be, I don't know, Safari, Internet Explorer, Edge, and whatever we have here. So let's stick back to Chrome, because Chrome is stable one. And since we are having a driver, now we will call that driver each time. So we're just creating it, and we can go and get specific URL. And of course, we need to have like private static final base URL as usual. And we're putting that URL from here, from the main page, putting it here. And I forget string here. Now it should work. Okay. And if I will run it, probably it will open the page. I hope so. Yeah, the page is opened. If I will run it one more time, we will have interesting situation. I will have two opened pages, so somehow we need to close the page once we will finish the test. So the test is passed correctly, but we didn't close the browser. So to move that, to work with that, usually we are moving our WebDriver here as a field of the class of our tests, and we are setting this part into a specific method. Let's call it like before each void setup. Inside that setup method, we can call this line. And here we don't need anything. And we need to use after each for void teardown just to close the browser. And it will look like we still need to use the driver, and there is a specific method. There is a close and quit. The difference between them, that closing only the current window or a tab, and quit closing everything. So we need to use quit here. And if now I will test this open site test, it will automatically close the windows. That's actually what we need. So the first test is completed. My congratulations to you. What else we can do here? Okay, what if to open this page and I don't know, click on submit button? Yeah, it's pretty easy. So usually we are doing it like that. So we are using that check the code. We are using select an inspection. We are clicking on that button. And here we will see HTML of that page. So we need to choose something that we will use to a clicking. There is a text, it's a unique one, and there is a link, also a unique one. Other things is not unique, so it's good to use either href or the text. But sometimes the site itself has different translations, so it could be translated to Russian, to Serbian, to English, to many others. So web form here on a different language will be web form in Cyrillic or in some other thing. So it's better to use href here. So how to write, for example, xpath locator here to find it. So we can write just the absolute path. Is it a button? No, it's actually not a button. It's a. So tag a, and then we can use href, for example, here equals, and let's just copy paste it from here. This one. This is our locator, and you see 1 out of 1, so it's unique, so we can use it. So I'm returning back here. So now the test is not only to open the home page, but it's like open web form page test. So it's a little bit different. We still need to use driver get base URL, but then it will be our prerequisite, a given step. And then we are using driver, find element by, I don't know, by XPath, for example. It should be different, this one. And we are putting the lines that we checked on the browser side. We can save it as a variable, or we can just simply click on this one. Once we clicked, then we need to, I don't know, where we're clicking now, we're clicking on a submit button. So it's actually a button. So let's try a different way. Why not to check it by text submit? So text submit. We're using the same driver, find element, by, but now we can use, for example, link text. Yeah, we can just put submit here. We're also clicking, and we can use some assertion here. So once we will click, what we will have? We will have form submitted here. So let's pick up this one. It will be H1. So probably we have only one H1 here, yeah? Actually not, we have two of them. But first of them has class display4, and the second one has display6. So let's use it. How we're going to do this one? Let's do another driver find element. We will use by. Let's use class name and put display6. Now we're saving that as web element. It will be our title. And our assertion for JUnit, assert equal. Expected text will be form submitted. Let's do it here. And the actual one, the title, we can pick up get text. So probably it will be something like that. Let's try. I hope so. If you have any mistakes, if you've seen any mistakes, you can actually help me. But yeah, so what's the issue here? Unable to locate, submit, and why? Why we have this one? If I will add the debug here and open it in debug mode. And let's resume. And it's still the issue. Why it's not working? Let's see. Any suggestions here?
Yeah, just change the locator. Use different way. I mean, like XPath or CSS.
Yeah, of course, you can try. Why link text is not working? It should work, okay? Maybe we can try partial link text. Let's see if it will work. Nope. Okay. What we can do? Okay, let's do this XPath again. I will show you how it will look like. So for XPath,
yeah, I think it's because it's not a link, it's not a tag but a button. Maybe because of that.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so for XPath it will be the same. We're doing button here, but then we are going is a text, and the text will be submit. Let's see. Yeah, 1 out of 1. So it's what I love XPath because you can check it immediately in your browser. So you don't need to execute the code to know that it's working. So let's try. and it's still not working. And here we have an issue. Okay, we checked everything, but the title was still web form, so it was not updated. Maybe we need just wait, so we can add the thread sleep here for 2 seconds. Because it's a red one, we need to add exception. This liner, and if I will execute it one more time, yep, it's still not working, and we have a stale element not found because we used that title for a previous page. We just need to move on it here because it will be get it from HTML structure when we already on the right page, so it's a correct variant here. And let's fix the test. Now the test should be fixed. Yeah, test is fixing. Of course, using thread sleep is not best case ever. We are trying to avoid this one, and the test could be fixed differently. We will see how to do that shortly. But still, it's already working test. We are doing something like we are checking, at least we have a different page. We can open it and we can submit a form with all default values. So it's actually some kind of smoke test because the form submitting, even though that we're not passing any values here. So by default, it's like available. Maybe it's even a defect for us. If on your application, you can submit a form without picking up some values, it could be an issue. So this is a real test. Okay, so let's see what we need to do next. So we checked that one. Yeah, it's okay. We had the teardown browser. Yeah, so we can commit, and now we can add waits more fluent ways than just thread sleep. So let's commit. It's first UI test now. Committing the changes. Okay, it's committed. So how to add a wait? There is several ways how to do that. And one of the best way is to move our initialization of a driver into a separate class that will be called as a base test. So it's another way, because probably we will have several classes, not only the one. So the base test will be used several times. And that base test from the simple UI, we are moving this part. We don't need it anymore here. And we can even move this part as well. So here it will be only things for testing itself. And now here it, of course, not working. So we need to extend base test. And because it's a private here, we need to replace it with protected. Because protected means available inside the class and in all classes that extending this one. Now we are removing unused imports, and the test probably looks like good. Let's try it one more time. The test is still working even though that we are actually moving away all initializing. And for now, it's okay to move it here. And here, after the Chrome driver, we can go here and where it is, let me see. In manage, timeouts, implicit wait, duration, not a 0. Let's go duration of seconds, 2. So we will wait by default 2 seconds. So it means that we can remove this thread sleep and try to execute scenario one more time. Actually, we will have an issue probably here. Yeah, we still have that issue, but it's a completely different thing. Here we need to, let's see. So just implicit wait is not working. How we can do it differently? There is another way. It's explicit wait. So implicit wait is not working for us, but how to do it explicitly? we can do it as using new WebDriver wait. Of course, it also can be added to a base test, but we can do it even here. So let's move on here. Add, now we don't need rows actually. Let's create a new WebDriver. Okay, wait. And as you see here, we need to put a driver firstly. So it's a driver. And then timeout, the same duration of seconds. Let's put it 5, for example. It will be enough for us. And then, of course, we need to save it somewhere. So driver wait, I don't know, long wait equals new. So here we can go, and instead of our assert equals, we can go long wait until, and we can put some function here. So let's see actually what it will be. Let me just see. Do I have an example here? So it's implicit wait, and this one explicit. We need to use expected conditions here. Yeah, for some reason I opened Visual Studio Code. Okay, so adding expected conditions, and we have a list of it. Title is, actually it's cool to work for us, but we stick to not a title of the browser, the title on the page. So it could be something different. Maybe we can use text to be. Actually text to be it's maybe, or we can go URL to be actually. Or maybe not to be, but what about URL contains? Yeah, URL contains, and we can check what actually it contains on a submit button. So we can just put submitted form HTML. If it has this line, so we're already on this page. Yeah. And once we will here, if we will get the title, it should be a correct title. So let's try to run this test. And it's working. And even though that I put a 5 second here, it was not 5 seconds. So we can put even 500 seconds, and if we will run it, it will be pretty fast. Yeah, it's working fast. The issue here that if it didn't find the submitted form, it will wait 500 seconds. So here we can put maximum 5. I think it will be enough. And of course, we have a lot of other expected conditions. We needed this one because the issue here that we have that web form here. So we're clicking submit, and if at the same time we are checking this one, it could be that we're still on the same page. So we need to wait. Maybe it's even less than 1 second, but it's not enough for us. That's why we are putting it like that. So what next? We did explicit, we did implicit wait. The difference is that explicit wait could have expected conditions, and it applied only to a specific element. So only to URL, for example. And all of other parts are actually not involved into this one in the base test of 2 seconds. So this one is wait by default for all elements. So it always should be small value, I don't know, 1 second, 2 seconds. But this explicit one, sometimes on my project, for example, if there is a spinner on a page, I don't know, there is some calculations of data, it could be even several minutes for some reason. So it's not only a seconds, it could be a bigger number. Okay, so I also saved here a link how to use AssertJ and some other things, so you can check it additionally. So now we can move and update our test to use, for example, page object model. So how we are going to use that? Now we need to create a different page that will describe our home page, for example, and our web form page, and even a submit button page, and etc. So we will work now with the pages. So here in the test, let's create pages, and firstly we're of course creating home page. And we also will need a base page, so all the elements that are stick to all pages at the same time could be moved to a base page. Here, if you see, the base page will be something like that. So let's copy paste it. So it will be default constructor. We will have a WebDriver here, some default weight. And I will even put a page factory to init elements. I will show you how it will look like shortly. And I don't know why I put login page, not home page. Okay, let's do it with login page then, just to have a quick example. So let's rename it. Okay, let's do login. It's a different scenario actually. So there is page of login form. So you need to put something here, submit, and you have valid or invalid credentials. Yeah, so this is a test case that we are going to use with the pages. And for a page, let's just copy paste everything from here. And I will show you how it looks like. So I'm using annotation find by, so it's a different way how we can get a web element even like explicitly, and it has additional improvement because it's actually saving us from that issue that we need to firstly I don't know, wait until the page will be loaded, then we have still element exception or other part, so it should be great here. It's not working. Yeah, of course I need to extend base page. Now it will work. And you see the page object contains locators. It contains maybe some test data here, or it could be placed in the constant class. It should have a constructor that will be used super for base page constructor. And you can even open this login form here. Of course, this part could be, I don't know, we can place here base URL, so it will be base URL plus login form. Actually, let's do it. Let's move it here. So it also should be protected. Protected static final string base URL. We already had this one, so let's just check it one more time. So this one will go here. And then on a login page, I can replace all of that with this one. So it will be better, this part, because this one is always the same. And here we're saving valid password, valid user, and etc. So it should work. Now, what next here? Since we created a page, now we can go to a test, and we can create, not in a base test, in just regular test. We can create a new test that will use weight, I don't know, login test. And we will use login page, new login page. As I'm aware, we need to pass something here, like a driver. What else we need to pass? And we need to pass WebDriver weight. Okay, and actually let's remove WebDriver weight. It actually doesn't give us anything. Let's remove it. And then here we are also removing. We don't need explicit all the time, so it could be on a test layer if it needed. And it will be this one. And inside this login page, now we have ability to log in. Of course, we need to have some kind of assertion here. So when we log in with the correct values, what we will have, let's see. So we're logging in, user. We need to check that we have that login successful. Maybe we can even find by ID success. So it's a good way how to do that. Returning back to the test, we can put it here in assertions. Assert equals, and we can check it with the text. So the text, I already forgot the text where it is. Login successful. We have an issue here that text is some kind corrupted, yeah. Let's do it like that. And here we will use login page. We need to get how it called on this page. Okay, we can get success alert. Okay, return here, get alert on success. Success alert here. And we can implement that method. So let's click create method. We can decide in which class we are going to do that. We need to pick up login page because it's only for a login page. And what we're doing here, we need a new locator. So let's write a new one. So let's use find by. Let's use ID. For that ID, we're going to use success. Placing here, and it will be just private web element success alert. Of course, we need to do the same for not success alert, but here it will be enough. So we are going here, return, and of course it will be just web element. Actually, it's telling us that we can just add a getter here, and we don't need a method. So it will work. Let's see. So we are getting the access, and then we need to get a text, and assert equals. It actually will fail, but let's see how it will look like the error. It will be anyway corrected. Actually, it's working. For some reason, assert equals checking the text, but just to check that it's really working, let's put here something different. And how it will look like. Yeah, we see. Actual is login successful, expected. Okay, it's working. So that's the test. This not the same test, but similar test that we wrote using page object. Of course, page object could be a much bigger because you can move from one page to another one and etc. So sometimes you're not directly opening login page. You're firstly going to home page, then on login page. But the idea is pretty the same. Okay. So as a homework, you can create several other pages. Actually, just a quick hint. So if we will go and create homepage, how it will look like. So that homepage will contain something like, okay, it should have a constructor. So generate a constructor. No, firstly, we need to extend base page. And after that, we need to create a constructor. And then probably we will have a method like public open login page. And it will be funny example because we are not returning void, we are returning actually login page here. So here we should click at some button. So we need a locator using defined by. Then it will be as usual private web element. So login. Okay, it will be a button even. Login button. Okay, and here we can use XPath, I think, the same that we did previously. A is href equals, I can even show you the example with the contains. So we can put the contains here, and it will be href. And the second argument will be, let's see which one it will be. So it will be login form. So we don't need to put HTML here. So let's put it like that because we are using contains. So this is how it will be. So we need to click on login, and then we are returning login page. We need to put new, and we need to pass a driver here. And that's how it will work. So now we can replace our test. Let's see how it will be. It's a simple test. We're putting here now home page. So we firstly go in opening a home page. Then we are using home page open login page. We are saving that as a login page. And only after that we actually log in. So this is extended scenario that we are starting from a home page. Is it working? Nope. Why is it not working actually? Let's see what I missed here. Ah, yeah, I forgot to add this one. Of course. And here is just base URL. Let's open it. Yeah, firstly homepage, and then element. It's not. Oh, okay, it's a good example also, because here in the base page, when we're initializing the driver and etc., or in the base test somewhere here, we can go here driver, manage, and our window. We can use a full screen or maximize. I think maximize is the best solution here. Let's redo the test. Now the test is on full screen and it's working. So that's how we fix the issue. So that's all for page object. Okay, so it's time to go here and commit changes. So add home for UI. Let's commit this way. Now we need to safely store our things that we had previously. So what we have an issue here using that login page is that we are saving our valid user and valid password just in a code. And we don't want to use that, because what if we are testing that we can buy a food using our PayPal account and we are placing that real card and we have all salary there? So it's not a good idea. So how we are fixing that? So we need to add a new library here. Actually, we can replace here with a test implementation. And the library is called owner. So we can also use that owner, Maven, find this library. This is the new version. And we can just use it as a test as well. Putting it here, updating. And now we need to create a new package like configs. And it will be some default config like test. as I'm aware. So let's see what we need to add additionally. So in that test config, we need to extend owner config. That's the vital part. So let's put it here. Actually, it shouldn't be a class. It should be an interface. I completely forget about that. And then it will be okay. And then we need to define which property files we are going to use. Let's put like default one and some named version. And here in resource folder, we can create several, like new file. It will be default properties. Okay, this one, the first one. And let's do like test properties. Of course, it could be several like dev properties, integration, prod environment. It's actually based how much environment you have or will have in the future. Here you can pass some variables in a key value. So for example, we can have API-based URL. We can have, what else? UI-based URL. And like Gennadii password that we are using here. Some of the things here actually could be these values. So for example, here API we can say from the Swagger. This part, you already remember it. We can put it here. And the reason why we're putting it here is that because for like test environment, it will be just pet store Swagger, but for a prod environment, it probably will be a different link like prod pet store. That's why it's easy to switch from one property file to another, then completely rewrite all the URLs that you have in your project. And here we are saving this part. Okay. So, and login and password, we cannot pass it here. So that's why we are using properties in a little bit different way. Before we actually committing the properties, we need to go to Git Ignore and save that like passwords. So we are saving passwords here. It means that we need to go and pass the folder resources. Here we have a default one. So it's probably test resources. Why it's not working? So maybe we need to write src test resources. Yeah, now it's correct. So you can check that your path is correct. If you will start writing default, it's actually picking up the default one. So let's add that folder of resources now inside Git Ignore, because we need to ignore all of that files because they need to be created only locally. Because if you will save your password here and commit it, it's also the issue because everyone were able to check your PayPal account and you will lose all your money. So we are saving that into Git Ignore. So what's next? Here we need to put all our variables here. Let me just do it quickly. So let's just copy paste it. So it should have the same variables that we have in the property files. Let's copy paste it here as well. And as you remember, we have a user here. For example, here it's empty for some reason, but by default we have it here. So it should work. Now we need to go back to our like for example base page, for example, that using base URL, and we need to replace it. Now it's not constant value. We need to read it from property file. So how to do that? Let me just share it with you. So we need to firstly create a configuration. Let's add it here. We have a test config class, different naming. Test config, importing config factory, and we need to place that we are using system get properties. Now we can put that our base URL actually is this one, get its UI base URL, yeah. Because it's static, we can create this one also, it should work. And let's just repeat our test. Now it will check get base URL from the property file. Yeah, now it's working. And we need to do the same for login page. So let's copy paste this line for a login page. And now we can read out of valid user this hard-coded data. We will put it as get login. And here is a get password. And it should still work. Let's see. Yeah, it's still working. Now it's getting data from default properties. And for example, how to switch from one property to another one. If we will run our test, and for example, here we will run Gradle test -d env equals test. Now probably should fail because we don't have a login and password. Actually, it didn't fail. That's interesting part. We used test properties. Okay. Valid user. How it's possible? Let's see one more time. Yeah, so if we cannot find the properties, like test properties, we will still use default one. So maybe it used default one. Yeah, I know why it's not working. Because for now, all our environment variables here is not available because we need to go here and add a line here to use system variables. So I forget this line. So let's put it here. And now it will be fixed. So if we will run this Gradle test, it should fail now. I mean, it's passing the different scenarios that we wrote today, but for a login, it should fail. Yeah, you saw invalid credential, now it's failing. Because in our test properties, we don't have a user, but if I will fix that and will execute this env test, now it should be fixed because we have a password. So that's how it's working. Usually I have properties for default test, prod, and dev environment, sometimes for integration. And you can put everything here, but vital part. So we finished and we need to commit. And the vital part that you need to not commit resources. You firstly need to commit git ignore. So we are committing everything. Let's add the owner and properties. So we are committing the changes. Okay, it's committed. And if I will go commit one more time, you see it's still here. So what we need to do, we need to use that git reset one more time, probably. Let's call it. Now nothing to commit. So you need to check that you are not committing properties with your real confidential data. So it's vital part. So what next here? We actually did everything. And now we can add the test report. So if our test failed, like this one with invalid credentials because of property files, we need to know what's happened. I don't know, we need to have a screenshot and whatever else, and we can use the JUnit reports. of course, but we need something bigger. So why not to use Allure reporting? To use Allure reporting, we need to add firstly a plugin. So we can just go here and write Allure Gradle plugin version. We will find this Gradle plugin, and we can just copy paste it from here. Go here and add it to our build Gradle at the top after the Java. One more thing that we need to add here is the unit and rest assured. So unit 5 will be this one line, and as usual inside dependencies. And the second one is for rest assured because it's also helpful to add it here. We have 2 of them. Let's update it. And how we can use it? First of all, we need to also install the Allure itself. I also have a link here, yeah. So let's see. This is the link. So it depends on your operation system. For example, for Windows, you can use Scoop, but you can just simply download it from GitHub. So you go in here to GitHub, you go in here to asset, you download in zip file. Actually, already have it. Let's see on disk D in Allure. I have in a bin folder Allure. So we need to have this path. We still go in here to environment. And as I'm aware, we need to go and put it in the path variable. So let's see what it is. Yeah, it's here. D Allure. So the same path, and you need to just do the same. Once you will do that, you can return back here. We can try to execute any of the scenarios. Let's put the same. And once we will create that inside our build folder, we will now have Allure reporting files. So let's see if we will have it. Yeah, I already see Allure results. So all tests passed successfully, but we cannot just simply open this one because it doesn't have any files. We need to generate it, so we're going to a terminal, and I can just simply write Allure serve, and it will not work. I will just explain you why. So it generates an reports and telling me that it's empty. So I just missed that it's not directly into our framework folder. So we need to first go to build, so cd build, and only after that we are moving to Allure serve. And now we have 12 cases. We can check it by category, behaviors, whatever else. If it has a failure, we will have it here. So that's how it's working. What else we can do? So for our user controller here, after the given, we can add a filter. And for a filter, we can do new Allure, or maybe rest assured. It's not here. It's, I'm in a different, I'm inside new Java. Okay, let's remove it. I need to do it here inside the controller. Here inside the controller, after the given, instead of log all, now I will put a filter. And let's do new Allure, rest assured. Only one line, and see how it will be now. So we're removing all of that parts. I will go to controller. Now for a create user, I will add a step annotation, and I will put here create a user. And the same I will do for page objects. So for a home page here, I will add step. Okay. Open my team page. Here I will do step login. And let's import everything. I can remove our Allure results, so it will be generated from scratch. Okay, let's remove it. Let's execute all the tests one more time. And let's see how it will look like. So I hope it should be a little bit better than previously. Let's generate it one more time. Okay, Allure serve. The same 12 scenarios. But now we have steps. So for example, here inside the create user, now I have request. So we save the whole body of request with the headers and with CURL as well, with endpoint, everything saved here. And it's even saving response part. So it's even better to check it inside the test than in logs in IDE, because you can check it one by one for a specific test case. And for example, here for login test, now we have open login page, we have login. For open site, I don't know, for some reason we have only for login, because I didn't add that step for other steps, but we have it here. And if login failed, you will see that this step is passed, but this one is failed. You can also add a screenshot part and all other part. This is how it could be done. Let's not waste time for that. You can do it on your own. I already added all the code. So now let's move to the final part about setting up execution in CI/CD. It's actually a big part. So how to do that? Firstly, we need to actually save everything. Let's go here. Let's go git commit. Now we added Allure. Allure will need it for us. So we are committing that part. Now let's go git push. We'll push and let's merge it as we did it at the morning of today. We will have a new pull request. Let's create it. We are going to merge everything on a master branch. Let's do it. Let's merge. And now we are able to go for additional automation. Let's go and put it here. So it will be closer. So start automation for GitHub Actions, starting with that action tab here. For now, we don't have any actions, so we can pick up. So we have Java with Gradle, and of course, we will have somewhere here Java with Maven. So you can pick configure, and it will create a Gradle YAML file to your project inside GitHub Workflows. It's actually a good starting point. It contains a new task. It will be executed on branch master. It will start on Ubuntu latest. It's for free. It will use JDK 17, and it will use Gradle build. And of course, we can replace it with Gradle test if we need. The only thing that is not here, that we are not saving any reports like Allure, and we are not actually be able to execute a Selenium test here because we don't have a browser here or any other parts. So we need to add it manually. So how to do that? So let's see. First of all, we need to replace push branches, master and pull request branches on workflow dispatch. It will give us ability to execute our tests based on a manual execution. So we will click a button and only after that it will start working. Second part that we are going to use here, that we need to add a permission read. Do we have it? Actually, we already have it here, so it's good. Then we need to permission write for, yeah, actually we need this one, not only read. So let's copy paste it. replace it. It will give us ability to write down Allure reports and read this one, so it's a good way. Then we are actually using actions Java to download Java. I think it's okay for us. Yep. And what next? We are going here. Here inside the Gradle, yeah, we can replace it with this one. Let's put it here. Actually, we can write it from scratch like test minus d n equals test. The same that we did locally. All of this part not necessary for us. We can remove it just to leave it without anything else. We also don't need a dependency submission here. It's using depend bot alerts for tracking vulnerabilities. It's hard to work with that, so let's just remove it for now. But what we actually need to add additionally, so we need to add Allure report generation. This is our step, how to do that. Let's add a copy history. Okay. And also, you know, it should have the same distance from left, otherwise it will not work. Then, what else we are doing? We're adding a build report part. Let's copy paste it here. And I will just briefly explain what it's actually doing that. So if always means that even though that's the test, previous one will be failed, if at least one scenario is not working, then we still need to copy our history of Allure reports. And then we are building report and we will keep at least 20. So you can choose a different number like 10. It also should be always, and it will add use a Allure report action that was created by simple elf actually. Here we are actually specifying the same folders that we used previously, and we are specifying that, okay, it's also using Allure history as well. And of course, we need to publish report. This is the line for publishing report. Let's put it here and use it as well. So it's also using the same GitHub pages that we are actually enabled here. It should use our GitHub token, but it's a variable, so it's safe. It's a secret one. And here we're also using always action from GitHub pages. And probably that's all. So we can even check that this one is the same that I had previously. So here in my new Java framework, you can see that I already have this one. So we can even go to code, this part, Gradle YAML, you see. Yeah, I have some additional stuff, but it's not required for us for now. Yeah, and this one also not required for us for now. But all of this one, I think the same. Yeah. So let's go here and just commit changes. We can create a new branch, but only for our testing purpose, we can directly do it to master branch, like add GitHub actions. So let's commit it. So the changes is committed, and now we have a task here. And of course, we can run it. We can choose the branch, our master branch. Let's run workflow. And it should fail actually. And I will describe you why it's failed. Let's see, we can update the page. Of course, you can open it. And you see the whole things are happening here. Like we're setting up the job, like setting up GDK, we're setting up Gradle, then we failed permission denied on a Gradle. And that's actually how we need to fix that. We need to add this one chmod +x. It's a Linux command to enable execution of a Gradle file. So let's go. And now we can even add the changes from our project itself. So let's go back to a master branch. Let's pull the changes. So, and we can open this file here. Actually, it's supported by Ultimate. It's not working here, but it's okay for us. So let's put it, yeah, this line of code. It's actually required part for us, but we need to do it only once, so it's okay. So we put it here, and that's pretty enough. And you also need to put a Selenium part, but let's keep it for some other time. Let's commit it. Okay, also let's commit it directly to main branch because we have run out of time. So committing, pushing. Yeah. Now it should work. So if we will run it one more time and going back to actions. Okay, let's run workflow. Now it should better. So we have it here. At least we need to pass that part. Of course, we will fail on the Selenium because we have several Selenium tests. But at least API tests should work. You see, now we're building Gradle wrapper, so it's okay. Our CH mode actually applied successfully. It's even running Gradle on Java 22 for some reason. Yeah, okay, so it took some time. Do you have any questions so far while we're waiting until it will execute the tests? Yeah, just ask.
Yeah, Gena. So one question. I saw that you skipped every time the pushing the code. So you have a big chunk of code when you want to push instead of after every commit. So I just want to know why you're doing this way.
Usually you need to create a push each time when you're completing the short task. And I combined all the commits into a big pull request only because of time efficiently for today. Usually you're creating millions of
Oh,
commits
okay.
and millions of pull requests. I already
Sure.
explained it
Okay.
at morning. Now I'm just trying to be faster. But yeah,
Okay. Thanks.
of course it should be several commits. And for this project, for new Java framework, you can see if you will go to pull request, we have 14. So here I did it correctly. I'm not just following my own rules here only because of time perspective. Actually, it was successful somehow, yeah. Or not. Yeah, it's failed because all our UI tests failed, but it's okay. It's okay. So if I will open this one as a project, and we will go back to action. So now it should okay. If we'll go to a settings folder, you need to go to let's see, pages, I think. We have a GitHub pages now here, and we need just save it in our settings pages. Now it should be able to save our Allure reports. So let's return back to actions. Now it will start that job page build and deployment. Let's wait until it will finish. It will deploy in our Allure report. So let's see when it will be successful. Yeah, it's pretty fast. And it's doing post-checkout job. Okay, it's built. Now some dependent deploy. Let's see, it's deploying to GitHub pages. The best part about GitHub Actions that it's completely for free. So you don't need anything to do specifically. So it's here, and now you see deployment GitHub pages now. So for the project here inside deployment, we already have GitHub page. And if I will open it, I will have Allure report. So now this Allure report actually available online. It's not on my local machine, so you can just check. If I will send it to you into messages, you can open it. Just try. So we have a working Allure. So what next here? What we can do? So once we have an Allure, we still have some failures here. Yeah, if we will open behavior, all our login tests failed. We could not start a new session. It means that we just don't have a Chrome driver into our Ubuntu machine here. So how to fix that? Let's go here. So we face that one. So we need to add this line of code. Let's remove back here. Probably somewhere here. Services. So we are adding a new Docker container of Selenium Chrome. And we are using some kind of new port here. So it will be available. And of course, now inside our build clean test, we need to put additional variable. Let's also put it here. So now it's with the variable. And we will use Selenium remote URL. This will be our URL on the local Ubuntu machine for GitHub. So it should work now. And we still need to somehow use it in our tests. So this is how it's working. Now we need to go to our base test and we need to implement init driver method. So let's do it pretty quickly. So go here inside the base test. Let's create this test. Let's import everything that was required here. And we need to use remote WebDriver. We will put that remote URL that we are actually reading from Selenium remote URL variable that we are setting from our CI/CD. And of course, now we need to use not new Chrome driver. We are using init driver method here. Okay, so probably that's enough. Anything else here? Nope. Should be okay. So let's commit the changes. Add Selenium remote. Okay. Continue, commit, git push. Now let's try execute our tests one more time in the action. Not for new Java, but for new, the thing that we created today. So let's execute it one more time. Okay, so it started. As I'm aware, it took several minutes. So if you have any other questions, I'm free to answer it. Maybe not the questions, but the feedback. Did you enjoy the session?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there a recording will be available of this masterclass?
Yeah, it's recording, so it should be.
Okay.
Because
Okay,
I understand that someone of you like need to firstly check it by your own hands, and only after that it will be some questions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really useful. I like the way how you did it in a simple way, and at the beginning, and after that you're improving and then still improving, and you explain why you did this, and I think this really helps. Not just give the full solution how it should be, and that's it. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, great feedback. Thank you for that. Okay, we're waiting until the test will pass. Anyone else have something to say? I still have null pointer exception. Let's see what happened. Yeah, probably I missed something, but let's see. Okay. So it still failed, but maybe there's a different issue. So let's return back here. Now we will have a new Allure report. Go in here, opening. We still have an issue, and actually still the same. What happened? And no, it's still not yet deployed. At 5 minutes ago. Okay, now it's a new version. I was too fast. It took, I don't know, several seconds to update. And it also still the same. Why we don't have any results? So now, deploy it now. Still the same. Yeah, maybe I missed something. Let's see. Usually, if it has passed several times, you have a history and retries. I will just show you. So for my new Java framework, if I will go to that GitHub pages, we have several deployments here, and the latest version, for example, for the test, I will have a history of execution. Maybe I missed something. Let's just check line by line. Let's return back to code. So probably it's inside this file. So let's check it. So workflow dispatch, write permission. Then I put it here from driver. Then this part looks okay. Then we are stepping Gradle, applying this one, using this one. Yeah, it should be okay. We are copying the history. Yep, it's okay. We are building a report. Yep. And we publish the report. So this part is working. Okay, maybe with the history it's some kind of not working. Let's see. What if I will execute it on my new Java framework? Is it will be working correctly? Let's run workflow here as well. And one more here. So even though that I'm using the same templates, even when I recorded it first time on Russian, I had an issue. Sometimes it's happened. So it's okay. Yeah. So here we have, let's see, for this project, there is like 5 previous deployment. Do we have it here? Yeah, we have several deployments. So at least it counting deployments. So maybe the issue only with the history. And we have a GitHub pages here. It's deployed. And also how to check it. No. Inside the project, now we will have a GitHub page, and you see the history actually 1, 2, 3. And if I will open, for example, my previous project, already created one in GitHub pages, what it is. It's here. I have like 6 executions. So history is also should work because there is several one. Okay, let's see what's the issue here. And of course, system get time selenium remote driver. We have a remote URL here. What could be an issue here? Yeah, probably we need to put Okay, do we have a remote URL on that project as well? Let's open it. So yeah, we need to go to a master branch to compare it. And you see in the test and the resources, actually don't have a remote URL here. And here it's the same. And for the test, I have a I'm using a driver here. Actually, it's not needed for us. So yeah, only need driver. And we're using it here, base test. And for the pages, base page. Yeah, probably it should be okay because we are actually from the page itself extending base test, and this driver already should be a remote version. Let's see why it's not working yet. So yeah, I have failure again. No pointer exception at simple UI tests. For some reason here didn't work. So driver was not executed. Strange. Okay, is it working locally? Yeah, it's working okay. So it's not working only in case of going here, Selenium remote URL. We're actually creating it. If it not equals now, we're creating remote. Maybe remote URL is not set, but it's strange part. Yeah, we can actually log it, at least using salt. So I think that could be an issue. Do you have any other suggestions? Because sometimes I'm just missing some vital part because I'm doing recording along the part. It's for me, it's hard to find the issue on a call, but once we will finish, I will find the issue immediately. So that's regular plan.
Don't be shy. Ask ChatGPT.
No. To ask
Just
ChatGPT, I
kidding.
need to send all the code. It will require a lot of time. Okay, so let's try to fix it. At least we will log. Is it really remote
I was
URL
thinking
class
only that part, Gennadii. I was just thinking that part about remote URL. Just copy paste and ask why we are not getting the history of the log.
It's just better to add the login part. So okay. By the way, if you are don't have any questions, so the part here for you, I will just share it, that you can get a certificate. To get a certificate, you need to complete the form. In that form, there is several required fields, and at the end, you will have like your full name in English for the certificate and email when I need to send it, and you can get it. So let me just share it with you. And this feedback form also will be in Telegram channel and on LinkedIn. But if you're ready, you can also use it here. Okay, I see that there is several feedbacks on chat that I didn't found it yet. Okay. Yep. Okay, so let's see if this thing is helpful for logging thing. Is it really logged something or not? I still have no pointer. And it didn't log anything, yeah? Yeah, system out println probably not working here. We need to use just regular outputting, like with a logger. We have here, actually it's the container is started, capabilities, and yeah. So let's see how our new Java framework passed. Is it correct or not? Do we have an error here as well? Yeah, we also have an error here. We have style element exception, but it's a different issue. So yeah, now let's go here for new Java framework. Let's open the last page. Open it here. And yeah, some of UA tests actually passed successfully. Some not, but you see we have a screenshot. It's actually an evidence that at least it worked. Yeah, we didn't complete it form submitted because for some reason there I didn't fix that issue. But how it will look like if the test failed, it's good to save a screenshot and HTML of the page as well. You see it's a great thing here. And you have an error. But I don't have an errors about Selenium driver. So I think it's enough for today. You can try to fix that issue by your own. If I will find the solution, I of course will add note here at the last part here. And if you will find the solution as well, you actually have an ability because I used it as a commentary, so you can comment any lines and suggest any improvement. So I know that some of you already on automation and working at some company. So you can add something here as a comment, like if you know how to do it better. So I'm not going to waste your time. That's all. Any questions so far? Probably not. Okay. Yeah. So I think I will upload recording today or maybe tomorrow, the max. So you were able to repeat everything that we did today. So thank you for participation. See you.
I have
Yeah, you have a question.
sorry for interrupting you. I have one question. It's my first time participating, so where can I find the recordings? I came here through Telegram, so will it be posted there?
Yeah, it will be posted in Telegram and on LinkedIn, but of course it will be on our YouTube channel, Serbian K-Hub. You can already find the Russian version. So maybe you don't know Russian, that's why you can wait for this today's sessions. And this link with all the guidelines that I sent to chat, I will just send it one more time if you miss it. Let's do it one more.
Okay. Yep.
It's actually vital part because you have a lot of links here. So save it because you can use it additionally because it has all the code changes already. So you don't need to even wait for recording if you don't need. Okay. So thank you for participation as I didn't finish. Yeah. So you can subscribe to Serbian K-Hub and for my like LinkedIn or Telegram pages, because yeah, we will provide some other workshops as well. Not only this one. We also have not only online but offline activities. Like a previous week we had a Gmeter. It was on Russian, but maybe we'll have something on English too. So usually I'm trying to do it firstly on Russian because it's easy to me, and next session will be on English. So that's my regular flow. So thank you and see you next time.
Thank you. Great job. Bye.
Okay,
You
see you.
see you.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.